and again, this money was withheld from you, or they treated you like this tiny breadcrumb offer was going to be enough to satisfy your full-grown household of your own. This could be you sitting in these Queen of Pentacles, and you have had to reach this specific financial standpoint, being, you know, financially stable on your own, with everyone treating you like you were the Page of Pentacles the entire time, with everyone acting like you were the Page of Pentacles the entire time, with everyone acting like what they spent on you when you were 1 year old is the same amount they're going to spend when you're 10 years old, or when you're 20 years old, or when you're 30 or 40 years old, or when you turn 18 and you were supposed to get the entire 10 of Pentacles. They still pretended like you were in this Page of Pentacles. Now that you're in this Queen of Pentacles, they want to pretend still that they don't owe you the 10 of Pentacles. They want to pretend that they gave you money the entire time, like some regular stipend. They want to pretend. They didn't give you anything. If you got to the Queen of Pentacles position, you got there on your own. Somebody never wanted to see you financially stable. They never wanted to see you as an adult. They only ever wanted to see you as dependent. They only ever put in black and white as you were dependent. One of their crimes against you could have been trying to make you forever dependent, trying to take your rights away, trying to violate your human rights, trying to take away your free will, trying to take away your God-given rights to life. Because you have the freedom to live life unencumbered by other people's forcing their way on you. You have the right to live life unencumbered by that. That is a right. It is not a privilege to be thrown around. You are not an object of desire. You are not money to be had and sat on. You are not something to be squabbled over. Closing messages about this. What about this dynamic? What about this parent-child dynamic? Or what about this disparaging difference between financial standing or age? The Fool on its side, yeah. They wanted for you to not experience new beginnings. They wanted for you to never be able to break out of cycles that would represent leaps of faith and new beginnings for you. They wanted for you to forever feel like you were not capable of being anything outside of this Page of Pentacles. This is somebody who wanted to ruin your new beginnings for you. This is someone who never wanted to see you experience new beginnings. This is someone who wanted to see you stay at this Page of Pentacles forever. This person wanted you to be in this Page of Pentacles in perpetuity. The Fool on its side. A lack of faith, a lack of new beginnings, a lack of foundations for which to jump off of or fall onto or fall back on. Feeling stuck. Feeling like there's no new life breathed into any moment. Feeling that one day is the same as the next. And it's going to go on like that for the rest of your life. That's how they wanted you to feel. They wanted you to believe that this wasn't a new beginning. They wanted you to believe that you were still a Page of Pentacles. They didn't want you to believe in the knowledge that you were actually the Queen of Pentacles. They didn't want you to believe in yourself. They didn't want you to have knowledge of yourself. They didn't want for you to grow. They ruined your new beginnings. They excluded you from a strong-footed, faithful household. They excluded you from a strong foundation in faith. They withheld faith from you. You were not able to trust in them. they were themselves not faithful. They were greedy. 4 of Pentacles. Page of Swords on the bottom. 10 of Pentacles again. Okay. What about this Fool on its side? What about this Fool on its side? What about this lack of new beginnings? Did y'all see that? That was the Ace of Pentacles, by the way. I'm going to pick it up, but it shot over there and then fell out on the floor. So this Ace of Pentacles, this first and last pentacle, this one, this is the evidence that broke the case open. This is the reality of the Page of Pentacles, where they wanted for everyone to believe you were still like you were still this child, or that this was your financial stability, this was your financial standpoint, that you didn't have anything to do anything with, that you couldn't support yourself, that you were dependent. Okay. Not codependent even, but just entirely dependent. When you're actually God's gift, when you're actually gifted, when you actually have everything you need, you have the first and the last pentacle. When you're actually the Queen of Pentacles, with the first and the last pentacle, with a child of your own or children of your own, and they're still over here trying to affect your new beginnings. When you have taken leaps of faith, even though they denied faith from you. When you have taken your new beginnings, even though you were unsure of where it would lead you, you knew it was better than where you were. Look at how they were treating you. Of course you leapt into nothing. Of course you did. Because look at what you leapt away from. You leapt away from them trying to withhold an entire 10 of Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles, which is your rightful birthright. This is your birthright, to be the Queen of Pentacles, to be financially stable. This is your birthright, but they wanted to keep that from you. They wanted to pretend that you were this dependent person, incapable of taking care of yourself, financially unstable, in perpetuity. And all these pentacles coming out, it makes me feel like they submitted a bunch of evidence. Like they went to court with this. Like they went to court trying to put on paper like you were forever going to be this child or this dependent or this financially unstable individual. And they kept submitting evidence and it was false. And they kept submitting evidence and it was false. And they kept doing horrible things to affect your new beginnings when it was unjust and unrighteous. And they kept doing it over and over again, even though it didn't work, and you still leapt, even when you didn't know what you were leaping into, even when you had no guidance, even when all you knew were lies, because everyone around you was a liar and a thief, because they were lying to you about everything, and they were stealing everything from you, even when they did steal everything from you. All they got was what would eventually be the evidence that cracked the case against themselves. So this is actually evidence they submitted trying to maintain a stranglehold over a financial situation, which seems to be about this 10 of Pentacles. It's in the energy. 10 of Pentacles showed up twice in the shuffle here. 5 of Wands. They're fighting. They're in chaos over this. It's like everything they try to do to help themselves out only digs themselves in a deeper hole. Everything they tried to do to you in order to get their way is being exposed. It's serving as evidence against them. Everything they try to do to escape this trap they're in, it only constricts them further. They're in quicksand. The more they move, the further they sink. They can't still themselves. They can't sit with themselves. They can't be still. So they're sinking quicker and quicker into the quicksand because they're flashing about. They're floundering about. They're lashing out. They're screaming and yelling and thrusting their limbs about. They're trying to force control over elements in which they are completely unfamiliar with. This is nothing they are familiar with. Quicksand is sucking them into the ground. Quicksand is eating them alive. But they have created the quicksand. They shipped the quicksand in. They fabricated each grain of sand, and then they poured water into a vessel that was not a contained vessel. So the water disrupted the ground, and it is liquefaction. They are sinking and sinking and sinking. Wow, what imagery. Five of Pentacles. Poverty, bankruptcy, bank failure. Their bank accounts have been frozen because they have been found out to be a criminal. You can't spend money that you accrued by committing crimes. You can't have access to money that you stole. You owe everything back. You will work the rest of your lives and still not be able to pay it back. You will go to prison for the rest of your lives and still have to account for the crimes that you have committed against people. They're not getting away with it. I did open right to the Six of Swords, you guys. They're trying to escape this now. What they have created for themselves, they're trying to escape. But it's quicksand. I keep getting that. It's quicksand they're trying to escape. They thought they were, standing on solid ground. But they misunderstand their place in the universe. They didn't create that ground. That ground is not happy with the way they've been treating it. You were that ground. You embodying this Earth Mother, this Queen of Pentacles. They disrespected you. Such disrespect will not go unacknowledged forever. The universe is like, no ma'am, no sir. Knight of Pentacles. All these pentacles. Slow and steady wins the race. Slow and methodical. You're dependable. You're rational. You had to ration things out. They were over here living it up. Ten of Pentacles, steak and lobster, Disney cruises, and all sorts of dumb shit. You're over here rationing things out. Yeah. That's right. You're over here, Page of Pentacles, Nine of Pentacles. This is a mother and an older child and a younger child. So you could have been in a situation where you were with an older child and a younger child, or this could represent a set of children, an older set of children and a younger set of children. So you could have been in a situation, now evidence is coming out about how they tried to thwart your new beginnings in regards to these seasons in your life where these children are represented, older and younger set, or them trying to thwart your new beginnings in regards to the children, or them trying to now thwart the children's new beginnings. Because just like you were this page, you turned into the knight, you turned into the queen. You had to do all of that without support. You had to do all of that with people attacking you as well. Again, you didn't come from neutrality where people just ignored you and let you do whatever you were going to do. Nope. You came from inversion. People trying to pretend like you were doing shit you weren't. People trying to attack you for what you were doing, but not accounting for the fact that you weren't even doing anything wrong. Trying to demonize or criminalize what you were doing. Meanwhile, they're over here total fucking criminal and demon. Just laughable. Just a farce. Just a fucking farce. Meanwhile, you have kids in tow and they're over here attacking you. There's a lot of evidence coming out about this. Meanwhile, they're over here trying to affect your new beginnings or your children's new beginnings because they don't want them to grow, just like they didn't want you to grow. This is like a whole family of energy vampires. This is a whole family of thieves. It's a criminal family. This could be your family. This could be some separate group, criminal enterprise that works as a family that targets individuals such as mothers who have children. Such as mothers who are like, the privileged woman type energy. Okay, Queen of Pentacles is giving privileged woman. So you're not just the mother with children, you're the privileged mother with children. So it made you a target. The fact that you were stable, the fact that you were financially secure, the fact that they had something they thought they could take from you, it made you a target because they're predators, because they're criminals. Again, people are always wanting to know, well, why did they do that? Well, why did they do that? Do you really need to know why they targeted the collective? Or are we ready to focus on how they targeted the collective? Do we really need to go over hours and hours and hours of the crimes that these people have perpetrated, even though those crimes have been exposed? Do we really need to go over and talk about how heinous the crimes were? Do we really need to go over and over and over why the criminal did it? Well, why did the criminal do it? Well, why are we also interested in why criminals do what criminals do? Why don't we focus on the victims? How about that? How about we focus on what the crimes the criminals committed were? How about we focus on the victims? How about that? How about we focus on what is to do after the crimes have been committed, when the criminal has been caught? We're not going to glorify the criminal. We're not going to give the criminal a book deal. We're not going to give the criminal a fucking Netflix TV show. Fuck no. There are true crime fans, and then there are people who idolize serial killers. There's a difference. You sick fucks. There's a difference. And this person or these people, they aren't going to get no book deal, and they aren't going to get no Netflix special out of it. Nope. Somebody wanted fame. Somebody wanted to be famous. Wow. Four of Pentacles. Somebody wanted to be famous. Somebody wanted to be famous. Somebody wanted everyone to know who they were. Somebody wanted for everyone to see them on TV. These were very specific things they wished on. I'm getting that, that star energy, the wish fulfillment. One of the people who are now being exposed as a criminal, or one of the people who have already been put behind bars, what they wanted, because I keep talking about how, people keep focusing on these, the perpetrators of crimes. And I'm not interested in the perpetrators of crimes outside of learning how they perpetrated the crime and learning why they wanted to perpetrate the crime. And the only reason anybody would or should want to know anything about that is not so that they can become a better criminal, is not so that they can make a television show or write a book about it, so that they can sensationalize things. No, it is so that we can learn what makes these people the terrible, detestable, horrible, fucking human beings that they are. It's so that we can learn, to recognize what the warning signs are. It is so that we can learn to recognize what the patterns are. We need pattern recognition on serial killers. It is important. It is important to understand that there are different criminal elements. There are people who pretend to commit crimes, and they don't even commit crimes. But they want the attention that comes when you go in and you make a false confession or something. Okay? There are people who commit crimes and then they try to hide their crimes. There are people that commit crimes and they have absolutely no moral code, and they're really excited about someone finding out that they committed the crime. There are some people who commit crimes and then they want to blame other people for their crimes. There are some people that commit crimes and they want to hide it and they want to pretend like it never happened, and they're not ever going to blame anybody for that crime because they don't even want anybody to know that that crime happened. Keep it tiny, keep it small, nobody can find out. Then there are criminals who are total megalomaniacs who do things like run nations for a living, right? And they're just tyrants. Those people are criminals too, There's criminals among all elements. There are criminals who live on the street. There are criminals who work in your business office with you. There are criminals who live in your family. There are criminals who you were born to, and there are criminals who are born to you. There are criminals who died and gone, and their stories live on. There are criminals who work at the McDonald's. There are criminals who work in law enforcement. There are criminals who work at the Dairy Queen. There are criminals who pretend to be doctors and they operate on people. There are criminals who pretend that they have, therapeutic licensing and they work on people. There are criminals who pretend that they have law degrees and they go and represent people in court. There are criminals who pretend that they work in the medical field so that they can get into places and get prescription drugs. There are criminals who actually hold degrees in all of these areas. So they rightfully hold positions, but they're fucking criminals. Yo, they are criminals. Like, what do you think? Because they have money, they can't be a criminal? Get fucking real. What do you think? Because they have a title, they can't be a criminal? Get fucking real. What do you think? Because they're your mother, they can't be a criminal? Get fucking real. What do you think? Because they're your kid, they can't be a criminal? So one of these criminals, what they wanted was fame. They didn't care so much about fortune because they were already being taken care of financially. They were already insulated in a community of corruption financially. So this person didn't have to worry about finances. They didn't have to worry about much, as a matter of fact. They could do things like commit crimes and get away with it because of their family. They just had to make sure that they committed the crimes in the village that their family lived in. They just had to make sure that, everything happened within that insulated community, right? They just had to make sure that they kept all of their corruption and their crime in-house, right? Okay. So, but somebody wanted fame. Somebody wanted for everybody to know who they are. Somebody wanted for everybody to see their face on TV. They wanted fame. That was their wish fulfillment. That was what they bargained for. That was what they were willing to give you over for. That was what they were willing to throw you under the bus for. That was what they were willing to treat you as less than a human for. They were willing to treat you as less than a human so that people would know who they were. They were willing to treat you as less than a human so that their face could be on television. I have a feeling that person's face ended up on television. I have a feeling that, they got their wish fulfillment because that trickster spirit, man, the trickster spirit, it'll give you what you ask for, but you better be careful. You better be very, very careful about what you ask for. Because if what you wanted was for everyone to know who you are, well, shoot, all you gotta do is commit a whole slew of crimes, go on a spree, get run down by the police, your name and your face is gonna be all over the fucking news. Criminal, manhunt on the run. This person wanted fame, and then their face ends up on television, but I bet it wasn't the way they thought it was gonna be. So that could be an example of something like, people getting tricked, people being led by greed, people being led by thinking that they're going to get their wish fulfillment when it involves someone else needing to be hurt. Do you think that that's how God operates? You really think God, who gave us this beautiful life, this life is such a blessing and such a beautiful life. You have the privilege of waking up every day, breathing in and out air that is breathable. You have the privilege of waking every day, facing the sun and getting all the vitamins. You have the privilege of foraging in your area and being provided with everything you need to live. The land gives you what you need to live. The sun gives the land what it needs in order to give you what you need to live. You think God is going to orchestrate all of that beauty? And then God, that same God, you think that same God is going to say, yeah, I'll let you be a TV star. All you got to do is bring me that person over there and let me harm their person. Herm, the name Herm could be significant. I don't know, take it as it resonates. You know, what God says that? If that is who they were praying to, and the cost of what it was they were praying for was at the harm of another person, that's not God they're praying to. That is not God they're praying to. Nope, that is a trickster spirit. That is a demon they are praying to. And not even a high-ranking one. A low-ranking one. But it'll give you what you want. You just better be careful about. You better be careful. You better be smarter than that trickster spirit. Otherwise, that trickster spirit is going to trick you. So, Two of Wands, the plan. The plan failed. They're just trying to plan now. Always planning. Seems like a lot of money spent and a lot of planning. Like, how can you spend so much money and still always be planning? How can you convince people to keep going along with something that never works out? How can that work? How can you fool so many people at once? The fool. How can so many people be fooled? Wanting to believe a lie because it's harder to break out of a lie you have been living and breathing every day of your life for however long you've been alive. That's one thing. But to knowingly buy into some sort of hate group so that you can, what, be famous? And you think God is going to bless you. That same God that blessed you with life. You think that God is going to allow you to destroy what is another one of God's blessings just so that you can have a nicer car? Or just so that you can, go on that vacation you want to go on? Or just so that you can have your face plastered all over the television? Okay, well, you might get that car, and you might get that vacation, and you might get your face plastered all over television. But that car is probably going to be something that gets you caught up. It's probably going to strand you on the side of the road. It's going to be a terrible, terrible neighborhood. You're going to wish you never had that car, okay? You go on that vacation, something terrible happens. You get foodborne illness or something. You shouldn't have drank the water when you went to, wherever. Don't drink the fucking water. Man, you never should have gone on that vacation. Was it worth harming another person so you go on that vacation? I don't really think it was worth it, but hey, what do I know, right? Or the person who wanted fame. They got their face plastered all over. Man, they wanted that fame. They wanted everybody to know their name and their face. Everybody knows their name and their face now. But did it really work out the way they wanted? I don't think they were praying to the God they thought they were praying to, because they were praying that they could harm another one of what is a God-given gift to this earth. God gives us the blessing that is life. And for someone to think that they have the right to take that life away, to stomp on someone else's blessing, to ruin what is a beautiful creation by the same creator who created the individual who thinks that they're going to, what? Treat someone a way that they themselves don't want to be treated, because I guarantee you they don't want to be treated that way. Because now when they are being treated that way, now when they are the ones who find themselves with no finances, now when they are the ones who find themselves with no house, now when they are the ones who find themselves with no one who will be there when they call, No one who will stand up and say, yeah, that person is a decent person. Now when they find themselves in the same situations that they put you in or they wanted you to be in, they don't like it. It was fine. They were all happy. They were having a good time. Spending your money, going on vacations, stealing children, warping their minds. They were having fun. They thought they were having a good old time. Fucked up their own kids. Foobar kids. But they thought they were just gonna move on to your children. Foobarred their own kids. But they're gonna move on to yours, huh? Yeah, sure. And God was just gonna sit there and go, yeah, sure, whatever you want, sweetheart. Just like their fucked up mom or dad did, or just like somebody who was trying to use them until they were done and being useful. Energy is gross. 4 swords. Somebody's bedridden. Somebody wants to heal from heartache. Someone wants to heal something with you. Someone broke your heart. 9 of Cups. Wish fulfillment again. Wish fulfillment. Someone's wish fulfillment was to see you. 4 swords. Okay. Yeah, wish fulfillment. Temperance. You're protected by angels. You could be a Sagittarius, or this is about that balance. This is about the patience that you showed while people were over here, you know, going on cruises when you were scrounging, just trying to get by. This is that patience. This is that balance that you showed when people were over here lying about your character, painting you in the light that they themselves sit in. This is your patience, because you knew that what they were saying were lies. If everybody else wanted to believe it, if that whole community wanted to buy into lies, if an entire department within the police and the community wanted to believe a liar, fine. You knew that the community was doomed. You knew that the family was doomed. You knew that the whole situation was doomed. Because the funny thing about the truth is it's comfortable. The truth doesn't elicit fear, only by those who are afraid of the truth because they have something to hide. The truth is the same from the beginning to the end. The truth, it doesn't change. It is the same. The story doesn't change. The truth, it is the truth from the beginning to the end. You knew that what you knew was the reality of a situation, no matter how many hot-aired, pompous windbags with a sense of entitlement born out of what could only be described as generational abuse, corruption, and trauma, carried out as if it were canonical law. You having patience through all of that. You having patience and balance. You being protected by the angels. You having angelic protection. You having the patience of a saint. Because only a saint can see that far ahead. Only a saint. So yeah, I mean, people are really just looking at you in this saintly light now, collective. It's like, if anybody was still, you know, somewhere in the shadows, for those in the back who didn't quite hear, you know, that collective's truth that was the same from fucking 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 30 fucking years ago is the same today and has been every day since. For those in the back, right? You speak a little louder, a little clearer. For those in the shadows who don't want to show themselves yet. For those who have not had acknowledgement, it can be forced. The truth can be forced, you know, but you have been very patient, not forcing anything. You understood the way that the universe works. You understood the way that your world works. These people, they want to operate as if they live in a criminal world. That's fine. Their world can end. Their world can burn the fuck away. Their world can burn to ash while you stand in the middle of it. The lone survivor, angelically protected, the incorruptible vessel. You're giving Saint, what's her name? Saint Catherine, or the incorruptible, or like Elliot Ness, lawman, angelic law, legions, angelic legions. Like, your spiritual rank is ridiculously high, and these people thought they were going to what? It's only because they were used to treating people that way. Seven of Swords. They're used to getting away with it. They're used to treating people that way and getting away with it. So that which supported, that which protected, that which surrounded and insulated crimes and abuse, that has fallen away. Seven of Swords. Lying, stealing. These people are liars and thieves. Possible KLLERs, and they're being found out to be such. They're disbanding. I'm getting a disbanding energy. Again, people are like spreading away from this person. There's like a central person or a central unit. There's like a group within a group, or a person at the center of a group, someone at the head of a group. I don't know what this is, okay? But there are people who are backing away from this person. And the backing away is like, oh, I didn't know that's what this was, or, oh, I didn't know you were that type of person, or you really fucking did that? And people are just like, whoa, I don't want nothing to do with this. Like, I'm getting this whole back away, back the fuck away. No one wants to be seen with this person. Nobody wants to be affiliated with this person, because they can see what's happening to this person. This person's false sense of security has been busted. Like, whatever bubble, whatever delusion they were living in, it is burst. I'm getting tower energy. I'm getting very strong tower energy. Dang, I've been doing closing messages for a long time. Why are we on closing messages for so long? Are we done with this? Oh, it's the moon inverted. They're insane. They're lunatic. What wasn't I just saying? Wasn't I just saying this person was insane? The Empress and the Magician. Yo. Okay, this could be a Libra who is controlling, manipulative, lying, possible KILLER, certainly some sort of liar and a thief. Okay, this person manipulates and controls. All right, this is somebody's mother, or this is a Libra. This could be somebody's grandmother. This could be somebody's aunt, somebody's sister. I don't know. Take it as it resonates. You could be this Empress, and someone was trying to control and manipulate situations in your life. You're this Empress, and this Queen of Pentacles is one of the hats that you wear. They were trying to debase your throne. They were trying to put you in a lower vibration. They were trying to drag you down to where they were at, but they couldn't even elevate to where you were at to try to drag you. So they tried to drag like a hologram of you. They tried to create like a fake you and then drag that you. That might be the copycat. Okay, so a copycat of yours might be being found out for crimes that they have committed, and that copycat or people connected to that copycat, or the one who groomed the copycat, or the one who paid the copycat, or the one who controlled the copycat, or whatever this is, that person or that group, that family, whatever, they're also being found out because everything is connected. There's ties. There's like financial ties. That's what I'm getting. There's financial ties. Again, there could be a matriarch who's going down for trying to manipulate and control a situation in which you never got what was rightfully yours as this Queen of Pentacles in order to provide for your stability, because someone left for you a gift. The Ten of Pentacles probably that was showing up. Probably I'm getting the reason the Ten of Pentacles didn't pop out is because it's gone. Because they stole it when you were a baby and now you're 30 and it's gone. Or they stole it when you were a baby and now you're 57 and it's gone. Okay, that's why the Ten of Pentacles isn't popping out, because it's gone. Okay, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be found out for stealing it. That doesn't mean that they're not going to have to pay it back. But again, I've said it before. Anything that these people give you, any little offer that they might give you, it's all an attempt to manipulate and control. And any money that they do give you, once you realize or once you authenticate that there's no dirty hands still touching it or involved in that money, I would then have a long, hard sit and think with someone who you trust, such as your higher power, okay, about how to exactly handle this, what was always meant to be yours. But again, people who have been committing crimes and the money involved in those crimes, them involving money that belonged to you at one point or belongs to you now, them involving that money, it spreads that nasty energy all over that money. So it's almost like you need to send that money, or don't take my financial advice. I'm not a professional or anything like that, so don't take my advice. But you want to send that money out into the desert to wander for 40 years before you touch it. That's the energy here. Okay, you want to let that generation of money die off and let the clean subsequent generations that have been bored come into the promised land of bank accounts for you or whatever. That's the energy I'm getting. Okay, so again, I'm not a professional. Don't take my advice. All right, that's just my opinion. That's my opinion. It's my Empress opinion. Okay, take it as it resonates. Closing messages, anything else? Anything else? What about this moon inverted? What is this? What does the collective mean know about this moon inverted? Three of Pentacles. Oh, this stuff has been kept a secret from you for so long. There's been so much manipulation and secrecy and lies and illusions cast over this whole situation and this money, this financial situation. The people who are in charge of allocating the finances, once the dust settles, once the money that was made by illicit means is separated from the origin or the principle or whatever, however you want to financially describe it, this is something that they're trying to figure out how to break the news. They're trying to figure out how to bring what was once a secret that had been kept in check. They're trying to figure out how to bring the secret out. They're trying to figure out how to expose a secret without it causing more damage than is necessary. Because the people who are in control, the magician with the temperance energies, are actually working at the behest of angels, good angels who are about good work. So they are thoughtful in how, exposing what has been kept as deep, dark secrets for so long. Once those secrets come to light, there is a gentle way and there is a best way to handle things. And so someone who is of the mind that we should try to maybe find that best way or that gentle way, especially if we're talking about stuff where kids are involved always, again, I'm not a professional, so don't take my advice, but always when children are involved, you want to, deal with things with a white glove service. You want to really take care and have a lot of forethought, because the money's been sitting there for however long. A few more months while you figure out what the best thing to do, it's not going to hurt anybody. It's not going to hurt anything. So don't do anything hasty, and don't let anyone pressure you either. I don't know why I feel like I'm giving advice right now. Again, I'm not giving advice. I'm not a professional, okay? It's just my opinion. Stating my opinion, okay? 3 of Pentacles. Think very carefully before you work with anybody in a financial situation or here in the environment. Think very carefully who you work with. Do your due diligence. Research people. Research how long they've been in business. Research what people say about them. And then follow your intuition. Feel out the energy. If the energy doesn't feel right, if the energy doesn't match the words, you don't need it. If it doesn't feel right, you don't need it. If the money has been spent doing illegal things, I wouldn't use it. Like I said, I would send that money to wander in the desert for 40 years before I ever touched that money. I would only touch that money has made. That's about it. But again, that's my opinion. 3 of Swords. Don't allow heartache to cloud your judgment. Don't allow emotional turmoil or someone trying to use wounding, someone trying to trigger wounding. Don't allow someone trying to use betrayal, heartache, triggering, wounding. Don't allow someone to use that in order to, make you feel some kind of way, because that's the energy I get here. I get that there are still people, outliers, people who backed away, who are not as easily connected, but still would like to go about doing their, mid-range criminal activity. And you don't want any part of that either. So it's like, be very careful, because they might try to draw you and your finances, or you and what is your stability and abundance here in the material, back into the fold, just so that they can ultimately use, abuse, manipulate, and coerce you into doing what they want you to do. Because that's what these people do. You bided your time thus far. You bided your time all the way through. Page of Pentacles to Knight of Pentacles to Queen of Pentacles with the first and the last pentacle. You don't need anything that these people might be offering you. It's a manipulation. You don't need anything. You've been biding your time. You've been good thus far. So, you don't need the same things that these people need. You don't answer to anybody. You're not beholden to anybody. You need to understand that your positioning is a very strong position. You can't be bought. You can't be coerced. You can't be extorted. You can't be bought. That makes you extremely powerful. It also puts a big target on your back. Okay? Again, not my advice. I'm not a professional. In my opinion, okay? Allegedly, if anything, according to my own mind, in my opinion, that's it, okay? Ace of Cups. All the love, all the blessings, all the aces. The aces are yours. It keeps coming out, these energies. They're like, oh, you think you're going to take the collective's life away? We're going to bless the collective's life beyond anything you've ever seen. Oh, you think you're going to steal a fortune from the collective? We're going to financially bless the collective and spiritually bless the collective more than anything you've ever seen. They thought that they were causing you to take 10 steps back every time you thought you made a step forward. But that was only because their perspective was so warped. So warped. That's only because they were chasing after what was a hologram of you. That was only because they were creating doodles and then fooling themselves into believing that the doodle was actually you. Maybe because it went on for so long, or maybe because they got away with it for so long, or maybe because it's not the first time they've done this sort of thing. But at any rate, the aces are yours. The gifts and the blessings are yours. You are gifted and blessed. Two of Pentacles. Moving forward, progress. Okay, financial progress. So you took the first pentacle and you did something with it. You're going to take the last pentacle and you're going to do something with that too. So you over here spinning straw into gold. They're in a Nine of Swords because of how your life worked out. They thought that they were going to create some sort of, you know, example of how not to live your life, with them making a copycat doodle of you and then, you know, dragging the doodle because they couldn't even reach you because you're just a puff of smoke, a hologram. So they're like, well, I can't work with that hologram, or I can't work with the collective anymore. They no longer believe that I am who I'm pretending to be, or they no longer believe that I am a trustworthy person or whatever. So then they create their own doodle. And then them and their doodle, they start mirroring each other because that's what they do. Because they're sunflowers in a field with no sun. So they start looking at each other. And they forget that there even was a sun. Where did the sun go? We've been in the dark for so long. They're in a nightmare because of the way that your life actually unfolded, because you were actually under the auspices of the sun. You're the moon, you're the divine feminine. You are the creative center of the universe. You took the God-given gift of life. You took the blessing and the abundance that God gave you as a child. You took the new beginning that God gives you as a blessing every time you wish to make a change in your life. You took the first pentacle and you did something with it. And you turned into the Knight of Pentacles, slow and methodical, plodding along every day, doling out only what was necessary, paying only what was necessary, spending only what was necessary, biding your time, accruing your finances, slowly and methodically working your way through life, being responsible, being dependable, showing up every day, even when you couldn't walk. You showed up in a wheelchair. You'll be damned if you weren't going to show up. You showed patience. You showed balance. You showed virtue. You were in control when individuals were trying to control you. When individuals were trying to manipulate you, you were in control. You came to the realization that you had graduated out of these immature financial standings. You were now at a maturation point for your financial standings. You were now independently wealthy, comfortable, head of household, children, everything taken care of. You were now someone's wife. You were now the blessing. You are now the financially stable one. Even though they stole from you, even though they attacked you, even though they lied, even though all of that, even though they couldn't just leave you alone. Can you imagine what their lives would look like now if they had just left you alone? Can you imagine? Can you imagine how many of them would not be facing prison or the graveyard right now if they had just left you alone? But they couldn't leave you alone, could they? Nope, they could not leave you alone. You know why? Because they're fucking insane. The moon inverted. Their insanity bred more insanity. Their lunacy, their secrecy ate them alive. They lacked the sun. They started to look at each other. They started to believe the lies that were being passed around in the echo chamber of deceit and corruption and abuse that had been perpetrated generationally, eons. But not you. You were like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna leap away from here. Screw you guys. I'm going home. So again, you took what God gave you, whatever that abundance was, whatever that gift was, whatever gift you unlocked, or whatever, pinnacle, that, you know, God saw fit to, you know, provide for you. God provided for you. When nobody else was willing to provide, you provided for yourself because God provided for you. You providing for yourself is God providing for you. Never doubt yourself. You are channeling God energies all the time. God wishes to experience what it's like to be a human through you, collective. So try to keep that in mind. Try to keep the idea that you can always spin straw into gold because God lives inside of you. You are the gold. You are the straw. You are anything you need to be. And because of that, people are finding themselves in nightmares because of their mental illness and their lunacy. They're finding themselves in nightmare situations. They're being haunted by the deeds that they have committed. They're being haunted by the ghosts of the people that they have KILL'd. They are feeling the flames at their feet for the hell that they never believed in. Otherwise, they would never have done these things. Because anybody who believes in hell would also believe in God. And no one who believes in God has done these things. And I'm not talking about stealing money. I'm talking about worse things. I believe you can come back from theft. Absolutely, you can come back from theft. I believe there are a lot of crimes that you can come back from. As a matter of fact, I think there are very few crimes that you cannot come back from. But the people in these energies have definitely committed crimes that they themselves cannot come back from because they were not willing to look at themselves until they find themselves under judgment. And they're over here still trying to cast illusions, even though they're under judgment. So then the judgment pops out twice. It's not just one judgment. It's justice, hanged man, judgment again, because all they were interested in doing was trying to manipulate. So where they find themselves, it's their own fault. They find themselves turned out of community, safety, facing elements they were never facing before. It's their own fault. That's what they wanted for you. They were having a good time while you were in this energy. They were having a good time. They didn't care what you were going through. They didn't care that they put you through it. Nope. So we'll see who shows up and cares that they're going through it now. I don't think anybody cares. I think they have burned bridges with anybody who was worthwhile in their life. I think they have ruined relationships with anybody who was worthwhile in their life, because that is what these type of people force upon each other, because they know that's the only way they're going to survive, is if they isolate new members from anyone who would deter them from committing crimes that would eventually lead them to being under entirely controlled and a puppet of the group or the puppet master. Take it as it resonates. And for this, they are in a nightmare situation. For this, they are being found mentally incompetent. For this, for all the lunacy, for all the craziness, they're being shown to the whole community, to the world at large, whatever. Take it as it resonates. People who wanted to be famous and their face all over television, they better be careful what they ask for. Because I don't think it's going to feel as good as they thought it was going to feel. So, till next time. Bye.